Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Ike Taylor Show on the Air Network. I'm John Harris with two-time Super Bowl champion Ike Taylor, now with the NFL Network. Ike, what's happening, man?
What's up, John? How everything going?
It's going good. Doing good, getting ready. Well, training camp started, full swing. Plenty of things to talk about. I don't want to waste any time, but I'm excited. You know, listen to the Air Network, and we're starting to pile up some shows, starting to get that chemistry, rekindling that chemistry that we've had for so many years. And as always, you being a two-time Super Bowl champion, spending your entire career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I guess we're going to start talking about the Steelers a little bit. There's a little bit of news at camp, a couple of interesting positions, a couple of interesting players, a couple of interesting draft picks from last year. You played cornerback, I believe, and I think played it with distinction, I believe. And we always laughed that if you had the hands, you would have had a whole bunch of Pro Bowls to go along with the Super Bowls and all the other accolades that you got. But the funny thing is, since you left, Ike, and even when you were there, it just seemed like the Steelers were trying to find the next Ike Taylor, trying to find a cornerback to replace you. And the latest in that long line of potential hopefuls, Senquez Golson, out for, I think, up to 3 months with a Lisfranc foot injury, suffered this week during training camp in Latrobe, PA. Not a good thing. He was playing more slot corner, but he was a second-round draft pick. Like I said, another in a long line of cornerbacks to try to replace Ike Taylor. You had Cortez Allen, who was signed to a big-money contract. He was released after last season. Another Ike Taylor hopeful. Ike, what can we say about it? Is that position cursed? We keep trying to. Do they need to stop trying to find another Ike Taylor and just move on from it? What do we do with this?
I don't think they're trying to find an Ike Taylor. I think they're just trying to transition and cross over to the defense they're looking for, which I think is moving to a 4-3 instead of a 3-4. My thing is, you know, it's a different mindset. Like I took everything serious. I didn't take nothing for granted. I like when my coach and the coaching staff came to me and said, look, Ike, you got so-and-so this week, every week. That's the challenge I wanted. That's the challenge I've been wanting since your hall of great guys like Hines Ward, the Steelers legend, Antonio Brown, who will be a Steelers legend, Santonio Holmes, Super Bowl MVP, Plexico when he played, first round, draft pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I took on and wanted the commitment and wanted the trust from my teammates, let alone my coaching staff, to be able to go out and shut any receiver I played down. Did I have a few bad games? Yeah, but few is the key word. Did I win the majority of my battles? Yeah, I did. But at the same time, you got to understand, Jay, everybody ain't got my mindset. They might be built for it athletically, but you got to have that mindset mentally to be able and want to go every play on a team's best receiver. Everybody not built for that. Now, everybody want to do it and get the money, but everybody ain't built for it. So on the flip side, if you can't find a guy like Ike Taylor, you find a guy who can get takeaways. And that's what I think, you know, what the defense is doing now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're looking for guys who can get takeaways for that potent offense they have now to be even more potent by giving them more opportunities, Jay.
Well, you're listening to the Ike Taylor Show on the airnetwork.net. John Harris here with two-time Super Bowl champion Ike Taylor. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're looking at, right now, their cornerback situation. Senquez Golson, second-round draft pick last year, out for at least 3 months with a foot injury. He was still learning the ropes. I don't think this was a guy that was going to be stuck out there on the outside right now. They major contributor. You know, they have another and the first round draft pick was also a cornerback this year. So the team has been investing high draft picks in cornerbacks after years of not doing that. Now we've got a second round draft pick last year. We've got a first round draft pick this year. They're investing the money. They're making the investment, and we're going to have to see whether or not there's going to be a payoff. And that's going to be the question when you combine that with, hopefully, a beefed up pass rush, because it doesn't really matter how good the corners are. If they're out there on the island and they're not getting pressure on the quarterback, it's going to be a lot of long afternoons.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, Jay. It's going to be tough, man. So it got to go hand to hand, especially with that 4-3. With that 4-3, man, that secondary is only as good as that defensive line. And by the end of the day, they run kind of like a versatile defense between a 3-4 look front, and a cover 2 in the back. So I can understand that. But at the same time, man, they've been drafting these draft picks for that defensive line, that Cam, that Tua, that Ryan Shazier, that Dupree, that Jarvis Jones. Them are, they can play 3-4, but them are 4-3 kind of guys. Them Big Dan McCullers, them are guys who are penetrators, and they don't mind getting up the field. So in that aspect, this team is a bend but don't break kind of defense and a takeaway defense. So they might lack in a lot, giving up yards, but they're looking for more takeaways and giving their offense back the ball a lot.
Well, one of the things I noticed is for years the investment has always been in defense. We've talked about that with the Steelers, and it's been true to it second round draft pick. There's been Hayward, the defensive end, a first round draft pick. How many linebackers were taken in the first round? There's some high draft picks in that defense, and in the investment. We talk about the offense all the time, but the offenses are going to be able to outscore every team every week. There's going to have to be some takeaways. There's going to have to be some tough defensive performances, and one of the things that we're going to have to do is get that secondary. Going to have to get that secondary straight. What your thoughts? Not just Senquez Golson, but what are your thoughts on the secondary in general? I know Will Gay, the veteran of the secondary, is back there, but there's still some other questions. We're looking at the cornerback position. Let's address that a little bit more before we move on to some other topics here with the Steelers.
So, Senquez, when I got the opportunity to work out with him by Coach Shaw, man, just mentally, he's ready. Don't forget, this guy had the opportunity to leave college and go play baseball and get drafted high. Let's not forget that. So that's from that aspect, mentally for me, when he tells me this story and I find out how good he was background baseball-wise, I'm like, dang, he could have left college and went and got millions. But he was like, nah, it wasn't worth what I was looking for at that time. Now, I don't know any guy. Now, don't get me, this guy's 21 years old. So I don't know any guy at the age of 18, 19 years old that's going to turn in with a few $1 million. But this guy was looking at the big picture. It's just the problem with these injuries has kind of haunted him, and it's still early on in his career. That works in his favor. Now, on the flip side, just talking to some of the coaches and Will Gay and some of the veteran guys at that nickel position, he was handling his business before he got hurt in training camp. Like, he was on his P's and Q's.
No, I was just talking about the continuity that the defense, some of those great Steeler defenses had. That I went several years without missing a game. There was a lot of starters on that Steelers defense that were always on the field. And we're talking about key players on the defense now, whether it be linebackers or cornerbacks or defensive linemen that are injured. And it's hard to get that continuity when you don't have that. Yeah,
it's hard. But like you said, I don't know if it's in the water. Like, I don't know. I just know before Senquez got injured, man, they say he was handling his business in that nickel slot. They said it was everything he was looking for in that nickel spot. The only thing he really needed to work on was talking up, speaking louder. And that nickel spot is a hard position. That corner spot ain't too bad because you pretty much lining up on the outside, and you can only run a few routes, so it's easy to drive as a corner from outside in. That cornerback, that nickel position, man, it's hard to play from inside out. You got a lot of ground to cover. That's why the Deshae Townsends were good at what they do. That's why the Rondé Barbers played for a long time. That's why Will Gay is so versatile. He's able to go inside and out. Like, I understand that position and how hard it is. I tried a few times, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay outside. So at the same time, when you lose a guy who is on the cusp of doing real well in his second year at one of the hardest positions on the field, now it's like, golly, now I really got to go in depth with my corners, which I don't have right now that are still young.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be. I think I think the offense, as you like to say, is a wrap. I think we're going to see the development of the defense during training camp and preseason exhibition games, and that's going to tell us a lot. When people are talking about the Steelers and are the Steelers a legitimate Super Bowl team, I just think the defense is going to answer that question for us as the season goes on. If they're able to hold their own, not saying give up 13 points a game like the Steelers defense did in 2008 when they won the Super Bowl, but keep the point totals down. Don't put that much pressure on the offense, and like you say, make the splash plays, come up with turnovers, and stop drives that way, or make teams drive 80 yards to try to score. Don't give up the quick big play.
Yeah, it's gonna be all about takeaways. By the end of the day, it's gonna be about stopping the run and takeaways. I don't think, because you got to understand, there was at damn near the last in the league at pass defense, and still had a chance to make the Super Bowl. Like they lost on a fumble in Denver. Let's not forget that.
Right.
So yeah, we can say this ain't the Steelers of old, and it's not the Steelers of old. Like, this defense ain't gonna be the Steelers of old. But we cannot forget they still had opportunity in Denver to win that game. One loss off a fumble. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell didn't play that game. D'Angelo Williams didn't play that game.
Right.
They still had opportunity. So yeah, we can talk all we want to. But them guys still made the playoff, and they still had the opportunity to win that game in Denver and go to the Super Bowl.
Well, since I kind of started talking about offense, let's look at offense for a minute. And we talked about Antonio Brown, and a lot of folks have lamented the absence of Martavius Bryant this year, who's suspended for the year. But Sammy Coates, a draft pick last year, second-year receiver, has been opening the eyes at training camp so far, making some big plays. He's got the build. He's got similar size to Martavius Bryant. I don't think he has the elusiveness or athleticism.
Well, it's going to take a few people to fill that loss with Martavius, and here's why. Martavius was tall with short area quickness, so he couldn't get out the break like an Antonio Brown, but damn near. And we all saw that Raiders game when he caught a noun pass, a screen wide receiver pass, made a few guys miss and scored. Not too many people who's 6'3" doing that, but Martavius. And not only can he do that, he can run right past you if he want to. And we all saw that numerous of times. And not only that, in the red zone, if I need to throw the ball up, he can do that if he want to. And not only that, if the guy want to catch the ball, land, and hold it in between his legs for a possession, he can do that. Not too many guys can do that. That's what made Martavius Bryant so special in the offense. Now, just hearing the buzz of a Sammy Coates, like, he's not elusive like a Martavius, but going up there in the red zone, climbing that ladder, catching that rebound, jumping over DBs, having that straight line speed, is Sammy Coates. Sammy Coates was heavy last year, and you got to understand why. At Auburn, all they really did was ask the man to block. So now he's under Coach Mann, the receiver coach for Pittsburgh, asked him to lose some weight. So Sammy lost between 10 and 15. Yeah, 10 and 15 pounds, and he's more faster now. He's a little bit more elusive now. Is he a Martavius Bryant? No. But does he understand what it is now to be a professional receiver? Yes. Time will tell in the preseason, let alone the regular season. But right now, they say he's having one of the best camps overall. I ain't even talking about just wide receiver wise. Antonio Brown is Antonio Brown. He's going to be there for a while. But a guy who's standing out right now is Sammy Coates. And that's what you're looking for. Just going into a second year, losing weight, being very productive in training camp, being one of the highlights in training camp at your second year. Understand he can have his own role with a Martavis Bryant being out. He's ready to step in, let alone Darius Hayward-Bay. So I see Sammy right now, man, just talking to the Will Gage, just listening to some of the coaches, like, this guy's really having a standout kind of training camp. So he just need to transfer the training camp to the preseason games, from the preseason games to the regular season games. So if Sammy ain't going to do nothing but get better, that's not going to do nothing but help that offense. And then again, man, that's all you want from a second-year guy, is to see a guy not only learn how to be a professional but want to get better, and that's what Sammy Coates is doing. What you got to understand about Sammy is Sammy did block a lot at Auburn. So right. Transitioning over to really being a receiver, like, he's going through that transitioning stage, but I guarantee you he's been watching Antonio Brown since he stepped into that Steelers facility. So just looking at that and saying that, man, you got a guy who Antonio Brown, who doesn't like to talk, all he want to do is work. You got a guy, Richard Mann, who's a receiver coach who produced nothing but great to good receivers. Looking at Sammy Coates in his second year losing weight, now handling his business in training camp, John, like, I expect nothing but good things from Sammy Coates this year.
Hey, well, speaking of receivers, as we wind down here on the Ike Taylor Show on the Air Network, Marvin Harrison, an old nemesis, going into the Hall of Fame this Saturday in Canton, Ohio. You guys had a couple battles. I'm looking at this guy's numbers here, Ike. Third all-time in total receptions, 1,102. Fifth all-time career touchdown receptions, 128. Seventh all-time receiving yards, 14,580. What can you tell us quickly? What can you tell us about this guy? What made him so special?
He like an older version of Antonio Brown. That's all he is. An older version of Antonio Brown. A guy who's not big in stature, wow, but can get past you if you want to. Yeah. Can take a short pass, make it long. Like that, I mean, that's, if you want to talk about comparison. As soon as you said Marvin Harrison, I'm thinking as you finishing up, like, man, this ain't nothing but Antonio Brown right here. That's all that is. Antonio Brown ain't nothing but a late version of a Marvin Harrison, which is a great comparison.
Wow. So, I hadn't heard that or thought of that, but that's a very interesting comparison.
Man, that's a great comparison. So I'm looking at Antonio Brown. I'm listening to the Marvin Harrison stats. I got opportunity to play Marvin Harrison a few times. He kind of helped my career. You know, one game he gave me the blues. Meaning he had his way with me. And after that, I think I returned the favor. Yeah. So just looking at that and understand how potent he was, and me being a tall corner and him being a little guy in stature, but quick and fast at the same time, like Marvin Harrison had his way on a lot of guys.
Oh, yes, he did.
A lot of guys. And, you know, just him getting in the Hall of Fame, man, he deserved it. He's like your Troy Polamalu of receivers. Like, he don't want the praise. He don't want to say nothing. When Marvin Harrison retired, ain't nobody heard nothing about Marvin Harrison. Nothing. And that's the way he wanted. The same way with TP, Troy Polamalu. Like, when he retired, he don't want nobody talking about him. He don't want to be bothered. Them guys felt like they put everything they did while they was playing. Man, once y'all tune in every Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I myself, Ike Taylor, with John Harris at airnetwork.net every Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., man. All we talking is football. See y'all next time. Peace.